Hey YouTube, it is League Turnover today, and the Master League is one option, but the other option is Sunshine Cup Great League Edition. So we have actually had this league already. It was actually during the first week of the season, but I don't think anyone played because everyone was testing new Pokemon in the Open Great League that was on as well. So if you happen to play week one, the Sunshine Cup, you may have an advantage. Otherwise, I think a lot of us are starting fresh here. So it is a Great League, 1500 CP, normal, fire, grass, and ground. So, and Charizard is banned, which is always funny. Charizard's banned, but then there's like Talonflames and stuff. But let's just focus on the what is in this Pokemon and how they all fit together. Whenever you see typings like this, the very obvious one is to go like, okay, what beats what resists what? So grass beats ground. Ground beats fire. Fire beats grass. And then you have a normal typing. And I'll talk about two things here before we just look at the rankings. There's always two things that whenever you see something like this, you should immediately be noticing two things. One, normal only has one weakness, and that is fighting. So if fighting is not one of the main other typings in this meta, normal's always going to have super, super strong play. So normal should be one of the top ones on this list. The second thing you need to think about is, okay, you have three typings. Is there a secondary typing on some of these that will help you win? And that is why you're going to see in the rankings, the number one Pokemon is going to be Credilli, because Credilli is a grass Pokemon, which beats the ground, but then you are half rock. So rock, you have the Rock Tomb for the fires, so you can beat those as well, which gives you a huge advantage. So basically in this meta, you should see Pokemon with a lot of secondary typings to be very, very strong, and then some normal type Pokemon as well. So I just talked about Credilli. It is a grass, which beats the ground, but it is also a rock type, which will deal with the fire, which is why it is top ranked. Gligar is a flyer, and so ground is weak to grass, but as it is a flyer, fly and resist grass, so it neutralizes your grass weakness, and at the same time, you have Fairy Cutter and Aerial Ace, both super effective against grass, and Dig, which is super effective against fire. So right there, you have a fantastic combo. So as you can see, two Pokemon that are already meta in the Open Great League with their secondary typings helping out in this limited meta. And then you get to some fire Pokemon. So Magcargo and Talonflame. Talonflame at 5 because, again, as a half flying, you neutralize that ground weakness, which I think gives you a little bit of advantage. Magcargo is an interesting one because it has, both have Incinerate, but it also has that Rock Tomb to be able to lower your attack, and being able to just kind of like lower your attack and out Incinerate you gives you a pretty strong play there. And same thing, Magcargo is half rock, so very weak to ground, double weak to ground, but a nice option against other fire Pokemon. So if you go like Magcargo into Talonflame, you are going to have a fantastic time. So Magcargo higher on the list. And then we're going to get into some Pokemon that have just other play. Swampert is a Mud Boy, so it will have play against the fire. And also now Sludge gives you that coverage for the grass that you never really had in previous seasons. So it gives you a lot more play. Mudshot Hydro Cannon is still just fantastic. Jumpluff, bulky, half flying, so still weak to fire. But again, it's just some of these Pokemon are just good in the Open Great League. There's your Diggersby, half normal typing. Again, good in the Open Great League to start with, but then just not having really many fighters on this list. As you can see, there's no Pokemon with like real fighting moves, except notice Fred has running Brick Break, primarily because of that. Clodsire, again, just an Open Great League Pokemon that's strong. You're going to have problems against the ground, but you should do well against the fires, and you should do well against the grass. So top meta. So now you're getting just into like Pokemon that's like Quagsire is just, I think, a worse version of Swampert, just because you'd rather just have those Hydro Cannons. Kanto Ninetales. Kanto Ninetales is going to be sort of an interesting one. I like playing with it, obviously, but those of you who've been around this channel know for a while, it was like one of my go-to core breakers early, many seasons ago. In neutral matchups, it actually does quite well. So like even like Gligar, you'll do well. You resist the Fury Cutter, so that helps. And then you got like Jumpluff, stuff like that. But you basically, with all fire moves, have no play against these Mud Boys. Diggersby is kind of close-ish. You can like potentially bait and get to an overheat. But Swamperts and Quagsires are just going to destroy you. So you really need to cover your weaknesses. And honestly, Magcargo and Talonflame probably have better advantage over you too. So like as much as I like Ninetales, I don't know why you would use Ninetales over using Megargo or Talonflame. Like, I do think you may look at the numbers 4 and 5 versus 14. I think there's a big difference in how these will play in the meta. I think 4 and 5 are far above 14 here. Ferret's an interesting one because, again, only weak to fighting. Sucker Punch really only can be resisted by Dark and Fairy, and there's not much of those in that. So you have neutral Sucker Punches, Swift, where you get the same type of attack bonus, and it's running, instead of Trailblaze, Brick Break. Now you can run either or. I think Brick Break, like I mentioned, because there's going to be some things weak to fighting. Weak to fighting here. Megargo's Rock, Credilli's Rock, Diggersby's normal typing. So Ferret in the mirror match. So there are things weak to fighting in here that where there's no real fighter answer. So to have that is great. I understand people like Trailblaze because you can just boost your attack and then out Sucker Punch in a meta that Sucker Punch is really not going to be resisted. So I think you can play either or, but just note Brick Break on Ferret. Skeldurge, again, I think Skeldurge will have more play than Ninetales just because it has that Shadow Ball that you will have some coverage for maybe Megargo or Talonflame or even like the Swampert and Quagsire. So, you know, even though it's ranked 17, just because I think it has a less bulk, maybe that's not true. But I just think that it's going to have a decent amount of play here. Golurk is going to be your main Mud Slap user. I mentioned all these things, like all these Pokemon all these fire Pokemon that are weak to ground. Fantastic answer there. You are very glossy, so just keep that in mind if we're going to use it. And then we're repeating for Jump Off. Okay. So could be, I don't know if it's going to be limited meta. I did start with a lot of like the top meta Pokemon. I always start with the number 1 Pokemon to see why are you top ranked. Not surprising that Credilli is very strong because of its coverage, right? Acid is going to hit super effective against grass. You have the rock for the fire and you have the grass for the ground. So just insane coverage down the board. No real hard losses. I did try to cover some of the hard losses with Gligar. So Gligar is a fantastic answer to, I think, ground, because ground is going to resist the acid. So if you resist the poison with ground, you need an answer for ground. So I use the double flyer coverage because if you have a Mud Slap user that was like a ground Mud Slap user, or even like, it'll be kind of close with Diggers. I actually beat Diggersby, but like the Gliscors, the other ground Pokemon, having the double flyer coverage is just always strong. And I've already talked about why double flyer coverage in past videos works. Even in the Open Great League, one, you can neutralize the ice weak and the electric weakness, right? Gligar resists electric, and then you have something that resists ice. So Talonflame, Corviknight, stuff like that. So having these two just balance each other out. So there's not a lot to deal with flyers to begin with. And then when you have a meta, which is, I was going to say focus on the ground, if that sort of makes sense. But like you got your mud Pokemon, you got your grass Pokemon. So I think the flyer has a lot of play. Double weak to water in the back. So just be aware. That's why it helps to have Credilli in the front. But if you get like a Swampert, like as you can see, Swampert, because of the acid, is only going to soft lose to Credilli and then beat these two because you can Hydro. So just be aware. Maybe a little weak to water Pokemon if you are going to run that team, but definitely something that you can play through the majority. So Megargo, very strong, I think. Although it may not show it in the even energy, even shield scenario, I think it's going to have a lot of play being able to take a shield or overheat and nuke or rock tomb and lower the opponent's attack. I think it has a lot of play. Now, the mud boys are going to kill you. You're double weak to ground, double weak to water. So you need to cover those weaknesses. So covered, sort of mirror matched with Swampert, because I think Swampert's going to have a lot of play in this meta. Like I said, there's a lot of things weak to water in this meta, like right off the bat. Gligar, Megargo, Talonflame, Diggersby, Gliscor, Clodsire. So I think the Mud Boys are going to finally have a lot more play than they do in the Open Great League right now. And then I was looking for like, okay, those two balance each other to a certain extent. I need to save swap. And I recommended Gliscor. Now, you can see down the list, what does Gliscor beat almost every single Pokemon here except for like ice type Pokemon. Part of me thinks this is going to be bait dependent. So Gliscor, let me just see if it was on the top list here. No, it was, oh yeah, it was at number 10. So I kind of overlooked it because it plays very, very similar to Gligar. Sorry. With the Fury Cutter, same fast move, Air Release, same charge move, and then the Earthquake instead of Dig. So the reason that Gligar is higher is because it's quicker to get to Dig. Now, Earthquake is a harder hitting move. However, it takes 17 turns to get to instead of 13. So part of me thinks that all these wins here are going to be bait dependent. I think that it is going to hit harder than Gligar. So it's going to be Glacier, though it's the evolved form, right? So it's going to hit harder than Gligar. It's going to be Glacier than Gligar. But if you're landing an Earthquake, you're probably going to one-shot the majority of things in this meta. Unless it's like a Flyer or Resist, right? But you're going to do very, very well in this meta with Earthquake. So part of me thinks that it's going to be Air Lace bait dependent and then landing an Earthquake in a lot of these matchups. So just be aware that it may sim better than it plays. But I think both Gligar and Gliscor will have play. Then I started looking at Pokemon that like people may have and that are in the top. So I started with Jumpluff. You know, you're an answer to Flyers and you're an answer to what I think. Sorry, not Flyers. The Grounds. In particular, the Mud Boys that I think are going to be very strong in this meta. There is potentially an argument that you should maybe run Air Relay's Energy Ball in this. I know Acrobatics is the go-to move now because Acrobatics just hits insanely hard. And if you're in mirror matches or if you're in any sort of neutral matchup like Ferret, you probably want Acrobatics. However, with how prevalent I think the Mud Boys are going to be and other Pokemon like that can take neutral to super effective from the Energy Ball, I think you may want to run Energy Ball. I think it can go either way. There's no, I think, right answer here. I think it just depends how you want to team build. Okay, obviously, as a flying grass, you are going to have problems with fire Pokemon, so put in Golurk to deal with the fire Pokemon. And then I needed a safe swap and something, because Golurk is very glassy, so I needed a safe swap and then something with a little bit of bulk and Licky Licky. Like I said, you can use Ferret, you can use any sort of normal typing, like maybe not in this particular case Diggersby, because then you'll be double weak to water in the back, but any of those just pure normal typings like Licky Licky or Ferret, I think is going to have a lot of good neutral play in this meta, just given the lack of fighters, and that's normal typing's only weakness. So I think you're going to be pretty safe to run that. I didn't put it as a top team. Whenever you're in a limited cup like this and normal typing is an option, triple normal is a legit strategy. You could go Ferret, Licky Licky, and then Diggersby or something. I know Diggersby has half ground, so you pick up a water and a grass weakness too. So you pick up two of the main weaknesses. So maybe not that one, but like if you want to just go 3 just pure normal type Pokemon, that strategy has worked very, very well in the past, and I don't see why it couldn't work in this meta, depending on the 3. And Diggersby, like, yes, Diggersby's kind of a weird one. Yes, you are half normal, but you are half ground, and the ground is weak to water, so all these Mud Boys, and grass, which is one of the typings. Now you have Fire Punch for the grass. You're bulky enough that you can take a Hydro, so it still has play and it's spammy enough. So that, but put in Quagsire. I'm starting to second guess this team already with Skeldurge. So I put in Quagsire because Quagsire again will deal with most of. Oh, I know I put in. Yeah. Okay. So with this team, I honestly think you need to run Diggersby as a safe swap. Quite honestly, I'd run Quagsire lead, Diggersby safe swap, Skeldurge back. You got a lot of double weaknesses on the team, and so this is one that's probably not going to be as safe as the other ones. Double weak to grass with Diggersby and Quagsire. So if you have a grass lead, depending on what the grass lead is, you have to come Diggersby, which is not a good option. Honestly, I would replace one of these Pokemon the more I look at it. I put in Skeldurge because you're double weak to grass on the front, so you need a grass answer. That puts you up as a second double water weakness with Diggersby and Skeldurge. So if you want this to work as a more balanced team and not have those double weaknesses, what I just said. Quagsire lead, Skeldurge, cover each other's weaknesses very well. Quagsire only has one weakness, and that is grass, and you cover that weakness with a fire Pokemon, and fire Pokemon's going to have problems with ground, and Quagsire as a mud boy with water will deal with the grounds. Balanced team there. Diggersby I said as a safe swap here. Just replace Diggersby with a normal type Pokemon. Ferret, Licky Licky, other just normal type Pokemon or other safe swaps. I'm trying to think what are the other best safe swaps in this meta are. You could run something like Again, it gives you a double water weakness, but you can kind of go through it if you did something like a Glizzcore or Gligar as a safe swap. I think that would make it a little more balanced and not give you some of those where do I go if I see this lead Pokemon. Clodsire, Fret, and Abomasnow. I'm trying to go a little more other Pokemon here, so which is why Abomasnow is on this list. Actually, Abomasnow should have played with all the things that are weak to ice here. So Clodsire, you know what Clodsire is. It's super strong in the Open Great League. Spammy, bulky, good coverage depending on your move set you want to use. Sludge Bomb will hit super effective against grass. Earthquake will hit super effective against fire. Earthquake's just a strong Pokemon. You can get Stone Edge for some flyer coverage if you're worried about Glizzcore and Gligar just being everywhere. You can run Stone Edge to deal neutral against those. So I should have played Fret, like I mentioned multiple times already. Safe swap Abomasnow. Fire, double weak to fire. So gotta cover your fire weakness, which I think Clodsire and Fret can do already. Fighting, don't need to worry about a lot of fighters. And then flying, some of the flyers in this meta, like Gligar and Glizzcore, are actually double weak to ice. So I think it gives you the advantage there, which is why it's so strong. You'll deal with the ground Pokemon. You'll resist ground because you're grass. You hit super effective against the ground. You hit super effective against these flyers. You have you'll resist the Mud Boys. You'll hit super effective with Energy Ball on the Mud Boys. So I think it will have some play in this meta. It is a little glassy, so I think you need to build around that with some bulk, and Ferret and Clodsire will deal with that. I did put Ninetales in just because I had to. But again, I think how do you make this team better? Talonflame. Skeldurge, Magcargo. Like, I think all those probably play a lot better. Cordeli was your safe swap, and then Whiscash to deal with some of your weaknesses as a Mud Boy. And again, Whiscash is one of those that was really, really strong Pokemon until the Mudshot got nerfed. And that's why Quagsire and Swampert and everything jumped above it. But it was actually one of the top Mud Boy plays, just because it had like the spammy Mud move, and then it got Scald, and then it has Blizzard if you really want to go for crazy coverage. So I think that it will have some play in this meta too, given how strong I think Mud Boy should be in this meta. So that is it. There is other Pokemon. Like it's funny because I just showcased from early in the season a Drampa team, which as a dragon resists grass and fire, right? So you just need to watch out for, I mean, normal won't hit you super effective either, but you just need to watch out for the ground, which is still just neutral. So there could be other Pokemon that rise up here, like Piloswine is a unique one because it is a ground ice, and there's a lot of things weak to ice in this meta. All the ground, like look at it. Credillia's grass, weak to ice. Gligar, weak to ice. Diggersby, weak to ice. Glizzcore, weak to ice. Clodsire, weak to ice. There's a lot of things that like ice can deal with in this meta, so you might see some more ice pop up. You may see more unique Pokemon, like there is the Flygon, there's the Drampa there. So you may see more dragons pop up because they resist grass and fire. I think grounds, like I think Gligar and Glizzcore are going to be pretty strong in this meta, and same with the Mud Boys. So if you can find something that combos those, maybe that's why I think like something like Abomasnow that can combo those. Just cover your like fire weakness twice, please. But yeah, so I think this meta could be interesting. It's only a week, and it's also with Master League, so we are not doing that, and we are not covering that. Again, I'm sorry, I just have not played Master League in years, so I feel like every time I put out top teams, it's just the blind leading the blind here. So with that, I'll say please send me some of these videos if you have played, and if you play this like Tuesday or Wednesday and you send me videos by like Wednesday, there's a very, very, very good shot you will be showcased on this channel before the end of the week, because it allows me to get ahead on videos. So I appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next one.